Hello, what is up guys? EvilDuoStorm here today, and today I have for you a video where we're going to be looking at the question I get asked all of the time. Should I be using simple mode, should I be using macros, or should I just be straight up playing the game? So in Blade & Soul, because there's so many different buttons you need to hit and so many different combinations of skills, a lot of people look for ways to streamline this key entry process. So what I'm going to do is go through those three main input methods and give you an idea of which ones are the best or which ones you should be doing if you want to play Blade & Soul. As always, if you are new to Blade & Soul, new to my channel, enjoy my content, please consider subscribing to the channel. It does mean a lot to me. So without further ado, let's get into it. So starting with just straight up playing the game and inputting all of the keys manually, there are a lot of different combinations of skills and a lot of different buttons you need to hit. Because of this, if you are serious about Blade & Soul and if you are serious about playing MMOs in general, I would highly recommend picking up an MMO specific mouse. So the mouse I use for Blade & Soul is the MMO 600 gaming mouse from Logitech. So this mouse has a total of 12 buttons on the side, with 3 different presets. As you can see, if I shuffle through them, I can switch the colors on here. And basically, it gives me a lot of different button combinations that I can hit right on my hand, just a simple thumb press away. So that actually saves me a lot of time. So for example, with Blade & Soul, I actually have all of my skills are located on one preset over here on my thumb. So I can just hit these buttons whenever I need to trigger a skill, a specific skill, or at any given time. And then the nice thing about these types of mice as well is that you can rebind them to any position you want on the mouse, so you will know exactly where your skill is for whatever class that you are using. Now in addition to that, on the key bindings menu in the options menu, you can go through and respec or reassign all of the different skills in the game to different buttons on your keyboard. So if you do not have an MMO gaming mouse and you're going to want to rebind these to closer buttons or buttons you're more familiar with, this is where you're going to want to go ahead and do that. So if you are intent on playing the game without using macros and without using simple mode, I would highly recommend spending some time in here and figuring out where you want to put these different skills. So beyond advising you to pick up an MMO mouse or rebinding your keys within the Blade & Soul client itself, there really isn't too much more advice I can give you if you are gung-ho on playing the game manually without using macros or simple mode. Basically, you're going to be forced to go ahead and learn your class. Things I would recommend doing is running around in Mushin's Tower and just practicing your main DPS rotation for your class. Now if you're looking to see which one of these methods is going to give you the most DPS, playing manually will probably put you right around the middle of the pack. Theoretically, you are limited by the maximum rate of using an actual macro to hit every single skill at the exact right time for your class. However, if you do get good enough with your skills and input, you will be able to run a manual, all manual input mode up to the theoretical limit of that macro. So macro is going to give you the most DPS. This will give you right around that. The nice thing about this versus simple mode or versus macros is that at any given time you can stop your rotation and switch. So times where this is useful is if you are tanking or if you're in PvP. It's nice to be able to switch out of your macro because macros hit the specific numbers of buttons in a specific order and be able to switch into a different combo. So if you need to switch from your main DPS into a blocking or a defensive stance, there's a lot less delay switching from a macro to switching to this method of input. So I've mentioned macros enough times, so the next one we're going to talk about is going to be macros. So let me preface this by saying macros are not allowed in the Blade & Soul game. It is against the terms of service. So with that being said, use at your own risk. However, if you did want to implement a macro into Blade & Soul, you would need some sort of software that controls it. So MMO mouses always have some sort of macroing program because it's such a critical part of different MMOs. So this is the Logitech gaming software, and from this I can go to any one of my buttons on my mouse. So if I wanted to change this one into 1, and I could add any different combination of things I wanted to do. So if I wanted a text block where I entered text into a string and put it into a search bar, I could do that here. But for games like Blade & Soul, you're going to want to do like a multi-key input where you input all of your skills and then you'll need to record the delays or define the delays between each one of the skills so that they are always going off with each other at the right time so that you're basically always doing your main DPS rotation. Now downsides to this are if you lose a packet or if you miss a packet, this input is going to be messed up, the timing is going to be off and you'll be using the wrong skills, which is a major downside of macros. Another downside of these macros is that you will be locked in them until the animation or the rotation of the macro is complete. So basically it's going to run through all of its keystrokes before it will let you pick another key. So this is what I was getting back to earlier. If you're tanking or if you're in PvP, if you needed to get a block or a counter but you're in the middle of your macro, it simply will not allow you to go back out of the macro. You'll be stuck in the macro itself. So definitely something that is a downside. However, if you were just basically DPSing and not really too concerned about things like that, a macro would provide you with the theoretical highest DPS. But once again, macros are against the terms of service, so use at your own risk. And the last one we're going to talk about, and also my personal favorite, and I get made fun of it way too much in all of my videos, but it really is a great mode. It is simple mode that is built into Blade & Soul. So a few patches ago, Blade & Soul implemented a whole system of like a built-in in-game macro that does your main DPS rotation for every single class in the game. You enable simple mode by pressing Shift F3 on the keyboard. So Shift F3 and you will see a little pop-up. So that one says BNS mode. If I hit it again, BNS Simplified Combat Controls. So what are these simplified combat controls? Basically how it works is that if you hold down right mouse button, your character will do all of your main rotation skills. So it's not going to use any of your auxiliary skills to amplify your damage. So for example, on the Warden I have my Blade Ward. You will see that Blade Ward is never triggered, so I'll never get that bonus damage from Blade Ward. However, all of your main DPS skills will be triggered during the rotation. So to see what skills are actually triggered during the rotation, you're going to want to head over to your skill book by pressing the K menu. In the bottom right corner, you will see an option that says Simple, and from there you can see all of the skills that are used and when they are used, which is a nice little thing as well. So for some classes, if you have a certain stance or if you've entered a certain stance, you will use different skills. So for example, in the Warden, once I enter Sentry stance, I use these skills when I hit right mouse button instead of these ones. So as you can see, only a total of like 6 skills are being used on the Warden of like the 20 something that I have available. So I still have to put in a good amount of skills if I want to do my main rotations to get my maximum DPS. However, this takes care of most of the button mashing. It puts a lot less wear and tear on your joints, so you have a less chance of getting carpal tunnel when you get older. But additionally, it also puts less wear on the mouse itself, so it helps keep your mouse alive for longer, and basically just improves your play experience a little bit more. Now, the downside of simple mode is that it will trigger the skills no matter what unless you disable the skill. So I know, for example, on the Gunslinger, there's really no point in using your 3 proc if you already have maximum burst bullets. But if you have the maximum burst bullets, your guy's going to use the 3 proc anyway built into the simple mode. You can't disable that, you can't get rid of that, so for that reason, you'll be doing a little bit less DPS with simple mode for some classes. Some classes you'll be getting about the comparable amount if you were actually just using a full-on macro. So it's really a great system, and I would urge you to try it if you haven't tried it already. Now, a question a lot of people ask is, when do I unlock Simple Mode? You actually need to have hit level 50 before you will even unlock Simple Mode, so if you're still playing through the game, just go ahead and level through your character and play along. However, once you do get to level 50, feel free to give it a try and see if it's something you're going to enjoy. I actually put a survey out to my Discord of all the people that are in it to see how many used Simple Mode. So a general 50-50 split on the people that use Simple Mode versus don't use Simple Mode, and it's split about 50-50 as well as to who gets a DPS increase or a DPS decrease. So really, it's going to be either way. It's really dependent on your ping. A lot of stuff is dependent on your ping in Blade and Soul, and Simple Mode is no different. So, you know, if you've got lower ping, you're actually going to be better off using macros, whereas it seems as though people with higher ping have been having better luck with Simple Mode. Either way, give it a try and see how your DPS compares with and without it. As I've already said, this is my preferred playstyle of choice. I really enjoy Simple Mode. It makes it a lot easier for me personally, and it makes it a lot more of an enjoyable experience for me. I know I'm not doing the maximum DPS I could be, but I'm still doing enough to where I'm perfectly happy with playing the game. But anyway, guys, that is also it for the video. So those are the 3 different ways you can control your character in Blade and Soul and how to set them up and basically everything you really need to know about it. If you did like this video, make sure to leave a like, check out some of the other videos on the channel, and make sure you're subscribed if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. I will see you at the next video. Peace.